Welcome to Movie and a Beer, everybody. This is Dan bringing us in, and we have a couple of awesome friends and co-hosts with us to discuss a really interesting movie.
I'm your co-host, Blake. I'm your Paul Rudd expert. He was in a movie called We Came Together that David Wayne wrote and directed that poked fun at all the tropes from romantic comedies. Also starring Amy Poehler.
Yes.
And this is Brian. I'm your... I don't have an expertise tonight. Expert.
Oh.
Very Griff of you.
It's not historical unicorn things, because that would be appropriate.
I don't know anything about unicorns. I'm not a big nerd.
Which is cool, because we watched Dodgeball and Underdog Story.
Yeah,
no, that's a fib.
Yeah, we watched this recent film.
Came out this year? Like a month or two ago, as of May.
Yeah, Death of a Unicorn. It's out on streaming services.
A24.
Check it out from A24, which is a horror.
Well, no, they do a little bit of everything. They're indie.
They're indie.
Sort of.
Yeah, so it was a weekend retreat out in somewhere in Canada.
Somewheresville, Canada, USA.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And so
on a nature preserve.
On a big nature preserve.
Provided by really wealthy people.
Well, so it was in Indian... It was Indian lands, Blackfoot Indian lands, and they probably bought it and then figured out, hey, this is cursed land. Let's not do anything with it, and let's just do a tax write-off. But anyway, we digress. So this is a movie almost 2 hours long.
1 hour, 47 minutes.
Hour and 47. So there's Paul Rudd and his daughter in the movie.
Paul Rudd playing the father, Jenna Ortega playing the daughter.
Yep. They are on their way to visit the billionaire pharmaceutical family that he works for, and he is probably going to become the
proxy.
So meaning,
which is, please,
he'll represent the family legally on the board of directors for the company and making decisions. So he'll have say and sway, and he'll get paid appropriately for that, but it'll take him some time to actually earn his own spot versus being proxy.
Say and Sway is the name of a disco where everyone can talk to each other because the music's not too loud.
Correct. So knowing we were going to watch this, and I'm laughing inside, but yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. Brian and I went over to the wonderful John's Marketplace out in Southeast.
I was stuck at work.
You had to work. It's all right.
No, it's not.
We went down there to find some beers, and there's beers with unicorns and fantasy creatures on the labels. There's interesting names. And
let's finish the synopsis really quickly.
Okay. Well, they're on this trip.
So they're on this trip, and they accidentally hit a unicorn.
Yes. The same way you'd hit a deer if you're anywhere in rural America.
Yeah. And hilarity ensues.
I mean, lots of hilarity.
I laughed a bunch. Will Poulter's great.
Yeah, there's some really great actors in this film. And it takes the opportunity to really poke fun at the ultra-rich, ultra-wealthy, and their just need for more. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter. We're just going to ignore anything and everything and just do what we want with what's in front of us.
But fortunately, nature heals.
Yes, it does.
And that's all I'll say for the synopsis.
It's invincible.
Yeah. And so we were at John's Marketplace, picking out some beers.
And
what did we choose?
We found a couple of good beers based on name, Invincible Lager from Machine House, which is up in Seattle. Wonderful place if you can ever go up there. And they do traditional English styles. They do a lot of cask things. I think they have 8 or 9 cask pours available at their tap room. Should definitely give them a chance if you haven't tried them in the Portland metro area. They are available in a lot of places.
Have we had Machine House on the podcast before?
I don't remember.
It doesn't sound familiar to me. I also forget my license plate number, so who knows what I can.
We might have, but it'll be interesting if we haven't.
Yeah.
So good introduction to them. Standard kind of Euro style lager. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The second beer that we selected based on can art is called Ridiculous Hazy IPA from Hopworks Brewery. And Hopworks, if you know them in the local area market and have seen their cans or their bottles and the artwork that they do, they typically use kind of fantasy creatures. And this platypus with weird 4-fingered hands and looks like a toad with fur and a platypus bill and horns, and it's pretty creepy looking, which we picked it out knowing, this is a horror movie, not necessarily a fantasy unicorns. It's not My Little Pony.
It's not a fantasy epic.
No.
It's not a sword and sandal movie at all.
No,
it is not.
There's one mythical creature, but it's really kind of a horror film and a kind of a fairy tale in terms of having a moral compass
and the classic
and a right and wrong.
and the classic fairy tales where they didn't hold back on the gore and the horrible results of your poor decision making. Like you're a child who runs away from home, you get baked in an oven by a witch.
Yeah,
pretty much.
By the way, I took a picture of the creature for a future Monster of the Week game, so heads up, boys.
Yeah, no, it's they do. Hopworks does some amazing stuff with their can art.
Did they do Bat Squatch? Or who is Bat Squatch? Hopworks is Bat Squatch?
No, Rogue is Bat Squatch.
That's
but they have 3 or 4 cans that have either bats on them or frogs or creatures similar to that.
I've probably seen the bat ones too. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
This film starts out innocently and then gets really crazy and sideways really quickly because you're like,
kind of a father and daughter relationship that's going awry in the teen years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
her mother, his partner passed away a year or two ago. They didn't really specify how long ago, but she passed away
about a year ago.
She passed away, and that's hard. Losing a family member is hard on everyone.
And she's kind of a crunchy hippie. Environmentalist girl, and the father makes his living to provide for her as a corporate lawyer,
which is, especially for a pharmaceutical company, which if you have any knowledge of how that works in America, it's not great. It's pretty grody.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore.
It's unfortunate.
So it's a pretty obvious conflict right off the bat. The teen daughter conflict, and also two different
morals.
type of values.
Absolutely.
Absolute conflict.
I mean, she wanted to research, and she's like, "Oh, wait a second! I recognize something from a picture that we took as a family visiting a museum before, Mom got diagnosed, or right after she had got diagnosed with whatever." And they didn't really get into that, which is fine. But they're like, it triggered her to be like, "Oh, wait! I saw these tapestries that had a bunch of unicorns, and they told a story, and let's look at that because if they're real." Well, they're in trouble.
Well, I appreciate Brian just mentioned the set of morals, the set of belief systems, and then you meet the caricature level, gross, rich pharmaceutical family of Richard E. Grant, Taya Leone, and Will Poulter, all wonderful actors, playing these cartoonish villains. Like, I kept cackling at everything Will Poulter said because it's just like watching a grindhouse villain. It was great. He just kept slamming scotches and just ordering the staff around. And Richard E. Grant was the patriarch. Yeah. And I guess the CEO of the company, the head guy.
And the wife even says, I haven't been this excited since we launched Fen or something, which was like a weight loss fake drug kind of thing. And I was like,
people got really sick on it.
Yeah. I was like, that makes sense.
About that. She really plays like if Gwyneth Paltrow were evil instead of just kind of ignorant.
So talking about the talent in this film. So my impression of the film as a whole was it was kind of middle of the road. It was entertaining, but not really high.
There's not a lot
high
of
entertainment.
It's a major feature,
but the CG was kind of laughable, and
I don't think they wanted it to be real.
I feel like
some of the later scenes, not good. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great.
I feel like some of the later scenes, I either got used to it or that's where they put their money because it seemed better than the early stuff.
But I would say they put the money in the talent.
Yeah.
The acting in this film was stellar. I mean, it was Oscar level acting.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of it was kind of just your middle of the road money making studio film.
The dialogue was really weak.
Yeah. So the script, everything was competent.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really elevated.
Yeah.
But the acting was really fantastic.
Yeah. I don't expect this to win awards, but I had a great time watching everyone do their thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So the character acting, I think, is what really sells it. Like they sell, I'm going to portray this really evil person and I'm going to do it really well because this is how they're portrayed in all the other movies and all the other TV shows. And it is literally
they were playing archetypes, but they were really on spot.
Yeah, they were. It's like, oh, you're all going to die and it's not going to be pleasant.
Director-writer Alex Sharfman, this is his directorial debut. All right. Pulled from a lot of creature features as inspiration. Jurassic Park, Alien, Jaws. We got some sound effects from that. We get a shot at one point, it's on the poster, I think, or in the trailer. that harkens back to when Ripley had the alien on her and she's facing away, looking at the camera as this thing's little like extra mouth comes
Jaws
out.
are coming out. Yeah.
Not to be mistaken for Ripley from Aliens.
I mean, that's why they named her Ridley. Is in ode to
homage
Ripley. Homage to Ripley.
Alien.
Yeah. Again, the one competent woman.
Yeah.
Just like an alien.
Yeah. So as a directorial debut, he did a good job.
I think I would agree.
Very solid first time at bat.
I think he should get more work. I really enjoyed his work.
First time with the big studio. I would imagine that he's probably done other things that aren't big studio.
Sure.
Because you usually just don't walk.
Yeah, you wouldn't do this without having some experience,
something under your belt, or you know somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, just give him a chance." So I think because they went back to the tapestries that she looked up, and the guy's like, "Oh, I have this large format printer handy," and the poor butler walks in with it, puts it on the table.
Griff, played by Anthony. Oh darn it!
The butler ran away with the show. He was everybody's favorite
Anthony Kerrigan
character.
Yeah. Anthony Kerrigan, who plays NoHo Hank on Barry, which is where he got his big breakout, has alopecia, which is why he's fully bald.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he wouldn't let that define him and he wanted to go get acting roles anyway because this is what I want to do. And he's phenomenal. He's great. He steals every scene he's ever in anything.
He's a wonderful straight man. Like, he knows what's going on, and he's like, I think I'm going to go run over here. He's like, I don't want to be around this.
Makes a great joke about time.
Yeah, he's carrying a grandfather clock. Yeah. He's like, I don't have the time for that. Or we don't have the time for this, or it's something like that.
He's great in it. I feel like Paul Rudd phoned it in, but just kind of played like, here's what I'm going to do. You could tell there was some conflict with his character, but he kind of just kept hammering the same note, whereas Jenna Ortega really got to
play around with it.
So it was really her movie.
Yeah.
So I had a question before this all started about what makes Jenna Ortega so great. A lot of people really are excited about her as a young actress.
She blew up,
and I would say her acting was fantastic.
I think that's what it is.
She actually knows what she's doing.
And you've got some trivia about Jenna Ortega's casting, right? Or was it you?
I think it's Blake.
It was me that he found her before. Like, he was courting her for this movie before Wednesday blew up, before Wednesday hit Netflix, and Wednesday is when Jenna Ortega
became
recognized.
A common name. Yeah.
Yep, her dancing was all over the socials. She, a lot of reports that she was very vocal about helping write the scenes and kind of forming that character. Where some actors will just walk in and say, "What am I doing? All right, cool. Here's the character. I'm doing it." Whereas she wanted to have a shaping hand in how this character is portrayed.
I imagine she probably had that sort of sway at that point in this movie, because it seems like she was more directing herself a little bit, if that makes sense.
She felt more fleshed, more like a character versus the caricatures around her, which again, everyone did great. Like, I loved it. Don't take me saying caricature as a detriment to the actors, but
they were all kind of known archetypes, and her character is an archetype.
Yeah,
but it was more fleshed out. She did I think it was the acting primarily, but you felt like there was more of a real human being within that archetype.
I'm curious how much of that was the wardrobe, because I pointed out during the movie, I think she and Will Poulter got the most wardrobe budget because everyone else wore the same clothes. Richard E. Grant does change in that cool safari outfit when he talks about how he killed lions and boar and elephants and crap. Like, oh my God, he's like Cecil the Lion
with an automatic rifle.
Yeah. He sucks.
I think this takes place over the course of just 2 days.
I want to say 2 to 3.
Yeah. It's like a weekend meet and greet with
that's the
corporate
plan.
Clients.
Yeah.
That kicks off with hitting a unicorn with a car.
Yeah.
And it's her fault.
Hilarity ensues.
Yeah,
you keep saying it, but I couldn't stop crying.
It has some sad scenes, and it also has some, he deserved that kind of scenes.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Oh, you're standing there right next to it, and it wants to murder you.
This movie really made sure to tell you, we're going to punish these capitalists. We're punishing these capitalists.
Humans bad. Greedy humans even worse. You're going to get you're going to get bit in many pieces and watch your entrails get spilled.
So don't be mean to unicorns.
Yeah.
Well, in nature in general. I mean, and that was actually talked about a little bit. It's like, we should leave them alone. We should give them what we took and walk away and hope they don't kill us, because that's what the story that's portrayed over and over. Ridley explains like, hey, in these tapestries, it tells the story over and over, and sometimes they try to capture them, and when they do, they survive for a little bit.
Right, when you try to harness the power of the unicorn for your own evil merits,
Yeah.
it goes
You get
awry.
punished.
And they turn black, and then they turn back white once the evil has been dealt with. I mean, we noticed that in the film. I mean, that's kind of not really a plot spoil, but look for that because they change color. They do.
Sorry, I'm logging all this away for future games, for future TTRPGs I run. Just the next campaign is just all unicorns. Just a whole Care Bear run of rainbow unicorn.
My Little Pony meets Care Bear.
No, more like badass stuff like makes every color unicorn that does something different, like the Green Lanterns. Green Lantern unicorns.
There we go.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave. Use your footsteps.
So, Brian, as far as production wise, this is a big budget film. CG, as we mentioned, outdoor shots with drones, or maybe.
Yeah, but I would say there were several shots with drones that were composited with CG generated images, and it was pretty obvious.
It was really obvious.
I mean, like I said, I think the budget went to getting the cast and maybe polishing the script.
Yeah.
But
it
didn't go to CG.
I'm on the website I don't like because it's owned by Amazon, but estimated budget $15 million.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean that is a moderate Hollywood budget.
Oh, it feels like what A24 does.
It's not a big budget, but
like A24
moderate.
makes stuff for a relatively affordable price.
Yeah.
Opening weekend U.S. and Canada, $5 million and some change. Gross $12 million. Gross worldwide $16 million. So did okay.
So yeah, I mean it's not a loss. It's successful enough that if there could be a sequel, they'd make it.
I'm hoping they leave it alone. I think they told the story they wanted to tell, and I hope the director
feels like a one-off.
I hope the director gets a bigger budget and gets to play with something else in the future.
Yeah,
like Gremlins.
But
5.
but it's not a
God,
failure.
please reboot the Gremlins.
Definitely not a failure. No.
And it feels like all the actors got to we're stoked to get to be in this and just do their thing. Like, all right, this is fun.
Have fun. Yeah. They made a movie. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few I'm gonna cry, and then there's some hokey I had an issue with some of they didn't embrace. If they say, hey, we're on native lands, and they didn't embrace any part of that, they talk about these tapestries. So it's like the historical aspect of
that's the medieval portion.
Stuff.
When the patriarch's mentioning the Blackfoot, his wife silences him. And I wonder if that was a story thread he dropped and didn't erase from that scene or not. Like maybe there's a whole thread he would have gone into, but the movie was already an hour, almost 2 hours.
It kind of convolutes the story because all of her
research
is in
medieval.
European medieval history, and we're in Canada, and now we're talking about some kind of Indian curse.
And really, that was just one mentioned by the one guy, so that's why it makes me think they had that storyline plotted, but then he decided to scrap it, but just didn't get that.
Yeah, or it was a rewrite, and then part of the rewrite wasn't removed.
Yeah,
it could just be to hammer how terrible he is.
They did film more than they needed, and that got cut.
Right.
Which I'm thinking. So there is a long Act 2 is at night after the unicorn is there. They've started extracting what they need to extract to start figuring out what it is and discovering, hey, it can cure cancer and it can cure this and that and whatever. And then suddenly it's daylight.
Right. Yeah. There's a cut, a really long sequence at night.
Yeah.
And then suddenly smash cut. And it's interior, and then smash cut to exterior, and it's broad daylight. There's no dawn. There's
all three of
twilight.
us. We all caught that. And if I catch that, it's pretty blatant because I'll get lost in the sauce. I'll
hand wave a lot of stuff, but that kind of stuff is like, well, maybe they cut out the interim scenes.
There could have been a whole discussion about like what the native tribes might have done or something that they might have chopped out.
Like the whatever magic is behind these unicorns on this land.
Yeah. And why is there an Aurora Borealis that keeps following them around when they're angry at the battle?
It happens in Canada. Canada is all Aurora Borealis everywhere.
So they did mention electromagnetism. And
maple syrup.
Yeah, and maple syrup.
And Molson.
Electromagnetism. They got into some little sci-techy stuff where they're like, hey, let's figure out what's going on. It's this animal's dead, but it's still
the horn is emitting electromagnetic,
So is that there's a lot of science we don't understand. There's a lot of stuff out there that's just mystery. And we're just like, we make assumptions about things.
Like how computers work.
Correct. I mean, there's ones and zeros, and then there's I don't know.
Well, there's gnomes and there's
quantum.
And there's quantum stuff.
No, that's Ant-Man stuff. No, there's gnomes in your computer. That's what makes the computer work, I think.
You sure there aren't little hamsters running to make it power?
That's why I said I think. It could be mice. I don't know.
Yeah, so there's some sciencey scenes where you have they have the head of the pharmaceutical research and the assistant trying to figure stuff out, and they just want to start mainlining. Like they're literally just like drinking and stuff.
The rich people want to drink it. The scientists are being written like actual scientists and saying, we think it's like this. This one result doesn't mean...
But we need more empirical evidence.
Yeah, this one result doesn't mean it's for sure fact. This just proves one hypothesis.
And meanwhile, the rich kid is snorting unicorn horn like cocaine.
Yeah.
The two scientists are Steve Park and Sunita Mani, both of which I've seen. One in the MCU, I think, and the other in like a lot of comedy stuff. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. They I think did a good job. They tried to keep it legit and be as straightforward with it because they're like, oh, we know you want them. They understand what's being asked. They understand the situation, but they're like, we just can't. Yeah, you would not be able to do this.
We've had this unicorn blood for 12 hours.
Yeah.
We don't have enough results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact they were able to put it do what they could do with it in that time is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're just, they looked at the blood, they looked at how it reacted to other things, and that's just a microscope reaction. I mean, you can look at what the cells do, and if you understand and have seen what the cells do in different situations, it's not that hard to hypothesize.
Sure, but then you put it in a human
Correct.
trial, Dan, which people are typically not on board with until they know he'll mess them up.
Unless you have a lot of money and you're dying and you just want something as the character says, I know I can go to my death because I've tried it all now.
Fair enough.
He's done something no one else on the planet has tried.
Including being classic Loki.
Yes. Well, we digress.
I digress all the time. So anyway, the Loki series is great. No, I really like this. Our friend Jason watched it, I think solo, and he said it was pretty good. This feels like the kind of movie you watch with friends.
Yeah. You got to talk about it.
I agree.
Like any good monster movie, creature feature kind of thing, there's going to be like, big gruesome deaths, and the gore in this wasn't over the top, but it was what we saw was pretty good.
Yeah. It was a little CG though. I mean,
the one head stomp was not great, but but then all the tearing scenes were pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, I would say it's kind of a middle of the road entertaining film. It's not great. I probably won't see it again, but it was worth watching. It's better than a lot of stuff that's out there.
There's a lot of stuff that is far worse than this. This is again for a small, relatively small studio. Support A24.
No nudity, some language, a little bit of gore. I mean, it's not anything that you wouldn't see on like standard TV in the evening anyway.
They would have cut some of the.
It's a little gory for standard TV.
A little bit. They'd cut some of those scenes.
Sure. Little violent.
But the people deserved it that the violence occurred to them, right?
They actually, I don't think they even showed him actually snorting anything. They just gave the implication of
him doing it.
Drug abuse.
Yeah.
Well, and the mother said, "Well, I thought you were off the wagon, and now you're back."
Well, yeah, you could say that on CSI. Nobody cares.
Yeah, you're using and you stopped, and now you're back. But it's unicorn horn.
I'm going to become Adam Warlock.
Yes.
Speaking of substance, we had some beer.
Yes, we did. Good transition. Good job.
That's the greatest segue we've ever had. Let's just wrap up the podcast. We're done.
Right. So this will be the time on the podcast where we start talking about beer. We had 2 beers tonight. We had a lager. And again, we've had conversations about if they just call it lager, what is it?
So Dan, who picked out this lager?
Our good friend sitting to the right.
I did.
I like how you pointed and someone said Brian picked out the lager. Usually Dan does all the work, but Brian helped today.
I said, go pick something out because I pick it out all the time.
I'm like a kid in a candy store. Brian just started running around screaming.
He's like, let's just get this one. I was like, good choice.
Just armfuls of beer.
I have never had this beer before in can or bottle. I might have had it on draft when I was in Seattle a couple months ago, but I don't remember.
I don't think we've had this
Machine House
very often on the podcast.
Might have had it once when we had a British or an English film because that would be what it typically would go with because it's English and British styles, but not always. This is a 4.4% alcohol by volume. This is a session lager brewed in collaboration with the Cascadia Gooners, and I explained to my friends here on the podcast that is a soccer club. So it is the Gooners are associated with the Arsenal team of British Premier League. So if you do know a little bit about soccer, you'll know the red and white with the cannon imagery. That's the Arsenal fan club. So it's a crisp and refreshing with a bit of British character. So they use Maris Otter. No, I'm sitting here. I'm amazed because I didn't pre-read this. And I'm like, oh, Maris Otter malt. That's why it tastes so different. And Brian took a sip and was like, why does this taste different? Because it is a British style Pilsner.
Sorry, I felt bad because you said British character. And my first thought was about the teeth, and I feel bad. That was my first instinct. That's so rude. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good.
No, I liked it.
So UK Goldings and Czech Saws. So the Czech Saws are going to give you that grassiness that you found right away.
Yep.
And then the UK Goldings is more of that round tea, like a little bit of acidity on the back that's more in mid and not sharp up front on the Czech Saws is going to give you that on the front. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting and really well balanced in that aspect.
I thought it was really good. I could see myself drinking like a set of these during game night or something.
Yeah, like it's pretty dry and clean.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a lot of sweetness, which, some lagers really suffer from. They're not dry enough. And using Maris Otter as one of your malts is always risky because that's used really commonly in all the full range of British pales all the way to porters and stouts. So depending on what you're using it for, it's more the mouthfeel and the character than the sweetness, but it can impart some sweetness. So I'm happy they found a nice, happy recipe with this. Any other thoughts?
The only thought I had was it was really interesting because it had a different flavor. It wasn't bad, but I knew it was something different that I'm not used to tasting.
Yeah, it's not an American Pilsner.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's interesting when you have a lot of American beers and you get something that's from like over the pond and you go, this is, if you can't always place your tongue or your finger on it, but like, this is different somehow.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I tasted it first, and my first reaction was, Dan, taste this. What is going on? I knew it wasn't bad, but I knew it was different because, full disclosure, we went out to dinner before this, and we had maybe 3 beers before this.
To try different samples, and there's some really hoppy stuff that you can find now. Three Floyds is now being distributed out here in the West Coast, in Portland area. They're from Muncie, Indiana, and they're really well known on the East Coast and Midwest, and you can now find them out here. So we're like, we're going to try this one, and then we're like, well, let's rein it in a little bit. We don't want to get crazy with this because I don't want to get distracted, even though it's a fun movie. And so the second beer we had was a little bit more distracting and a little bit more, I think, matched it a little better.
It matched the back half.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of action and a lot of things going on the screen, and it's okay to have that happening in your mouth at the same time.
It's okay to have unicorn horn in your mouth. I can't even say it.
I'm gonna just brush it on my teeth. I'm gonna be like,
unicorn horn.
Just pour the bag of blood right in my scotch.
Yeah.
Invincible
Lager. Good job.
I liked it. I think it matched the beginning of the movie really well, which every movie like this has all the setup of like you have to know the characters. You have to have the normal before you get to the weirdness of, oh God, what's happening? And I think this matched that really well. If you wanted to have just this for a whole movie, maybe like one of those road trip comedies, like a coming of age kind of film, something that's like just standard the whole way through with like emotional storylines.
Yeah. I agree. Brian's just shaking his head.
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
And he shrugged.
What you said. All right. So moving on to beer number 2. We've had Hopworks beers before.
Yeah.
This beer was selected based on the can art. I know.
It's a gorgeous, beautiful platypus monster.
Platypus devil.
I'm going to name him Barry.
Platypus devil. So it's a platypus. It's got looks like fur.
Platypus antelope, honestly.
Yeah, it's a weird cross.
Platylope.
It looks like how a frog would sit, but its forearms and hands are not that of a frog or anything. I don't know what's going on with
I want to feed it a cactus.
Pretty much. And it's got demon eyes. It's like looking at you like, I'm gonna eat your soul.
It's got man eyes. Looks like a man.
Ridiculous Hazy IPA. It's ridiculously smooth. It's aromatic.
The name of it is ridiculous. It's not a ridiculous one. It's called.
Yeah, that's what they actually call it. And this was a seasonal beer I've not had before. So I was happy to buy the can based on the art and just surprising. New England style, so late additions of Citro, Idaho 7, and El Dorado and Sabro hops give it an intense flavor of tangerine, lychee, peach, and mango. The oat and wheat additions give it a sort of a rounded and soft, kind of tongue-coating mouthfeel. The sweetness is really light. It dries out enough, but not too dry.
It wasn't really fruity, which what it's saying about it.
I didn't catch any fruit on this.
Yeah.
I was looking at the can trying to verify what Dan was saying, but he's reading off the website. Like, I didn't taste any fruit. I got some of that lightness where it, like the flavor comes off really fast. Like I got some of that because it didn't linger, which I like. But I didn't really get any fruit. But I was also Add 2 of the lager.
Yeah, and now that it's
Went in,
warmed up,
slam this bad boy.
it's actually showing up now that it's warmed up a little bit.
Must sneeze in Dan's glass.
Yeah, there's a lot of sneezing in the beginning of this in a car, and I was just laughing because we were making dad jokes. It's like, oh, that dad would do that.
It's such a dad thing to do. Okay, now I'm catching some of the more.
There's some tangerine and peach that kind of speak a little bit. There's some tongue coating that goes on with the wheat, which is really nice. So really pleasant New England style hazy IPA. It's 6.6%, so it's middle of the road. It's not that high in alcohol that you can't have more than one, but I would definitely say check it out if you can.
So
because
Dan,
it's in cans.
New England style, is that because New England popularized it, or is that just the name because of where the hops come from?
No, it's just the style. Some breweries in the northeast part of the United States started making beers that were hazy and had a lot of this aromatic, fruity flavor.
Which feels like that area, because depending on where you are, it's very foggy and cold a lot of the year. And when it's summer, it's so nice.
So what makes it hazy? Is it a lot of particulates in the beer?
Yeah.
Is it a different thing? Is it unicorn horn? You have to legally tell us if it's unicorn horn. But it's probably what Brian said.
So there's a number of different things that can cause a beer to be hazy, and typically it's a yeast byproduct that doesn't settle out. So normally you what's called cold crash a beer. So when it gets cold enough, things will settle down, and that's when you drain it off. And not necessarily, you don't want all the stuff that's settled in it.
You don't want a lot of sediment
at the top. Yeah, you don't want any of that. So you have to kind of figure out, I'm going to drain off the stuff at the bottom and pull it from the bottom, or I'm going to take it from the top or somewhere in between to hopefully not get all that sediment. When you have hazy, sometimes the yeast, the byproduct from the yeast, doesn't settle out, and it's just hazy.
It remains suspended in the liquid.
Suspension.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oats also have a byproduct. Wheat has that byproduct. That's why a lot of wheat beers aren't clear, but some are. When it says filtered, that means they probably did a lot of cold crashing, or they used something. There's an additive that you can put in beer. It comes in many different formats.
The molecules will glom onto and sink.
They'll grab onto it, as you said, and drop out. That's what you're wanting to have happen. There are also just byproducts from the boiling process of, you've taken these pieces of kernel of this, wheat or oat or whatever, it's broken down now, and it's just in suspension in the liquid. We've all seen soup. Some soups can be clear, and most of the time they're not. They can be very cloudy. So if you add anything like
chicken bones,
it's something that has,
tomato,
it'll cause it to get cloudy.
A ham sandwich,
hop nuts,
pretty much,
corn nuts,
little nuggets of hops,
corn nuts,
unicorn blood.
Yeah. So, and when we say it's unfiltered or not pasteurized, I mean, it's boiled, but after it's been fermented out, there's only so many things you really want to do. And again, during the boiling process, you're going to add towards the end of that boil, something, and this is where you have, I'm a vegan beer versus not a vegan beer, because there's Irish moss you can use. There's gelatin that you can use. It just really depends on the brewery and what they're used to using. So you can have beer that's not vegetarian or vegan because it's got gelatin in it.
Interesting.
And that's one of the substances that will grab onto all the radicals that are floating out there and be like,
interesting,
and then drop out.
So what would you want to use of a unicorn to make a unicorn beer?
The horn.
Definitely.
I would just add the horn in the boil.
Like whole, or would you shave it up?
I'd shave it up.
So a hazy IPA is an IPA where they didn't add the gelatin, for example, to pull some of the haze out?
Or they did, but they did it in a minorly way. They didn't add enough because, it's not completely hazy. But it is hazy, but not all
they intend it to be cloudy because that's the style.
Correct. You can have hazy tasting New England style IPAs that are clear. Okay. I've seen those a few times.
It feels like when you get a dark lager, my brain just can't comprehend what my eyes are.
Yeah, that feels like people are just screwing around to see what they can do.
And that's exactly it.
They asked if they could. They never asked if they should.
Right.
Yeah, there's also proteins that can cause haziness, and there's certain resting that you have to do to allow stuff to actually fall out. So, you're not flipping the beer in 3 days. It's going to sit there for, weeks to months. And that stuff will eventually just settle down. Even though it is equal suspension, it'll still eventually work its way to the bottom, and then you can pull stuff
heavier because it's more solid.
Correct.
Science.
And science is amazing. Thoughts on this really kind of hazy-ish IPA, but it's not super dry and it's not overpowering on the bitter profile. It's
This is one I'd open my evening with and then switch over to Rainier's and other light stuff to like just balance out. Because this is really good, but it did have more of a weight to it, I feel like. Like there's a real body to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it was very drinkable and matched the film very well. I actually liked it a little better with the film than the first one, just because the first one was a little bit off my palate.
Yeah. It wasn't normal.
It wasn't normal.
Wasn't what you
fair.
expected.
I'm a Joe Average drinker guy.
We need you here.
Yeah.
I'm the jokester, you're the Joe Average drinker, Dan does everything else.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, there's Hopworks has a couple locations here in town. Definitely seek them out. You can find their beers all over the place.
I think 7-Eleven's usually carry them too.
They're pretty widely distributed. Seek out their sessionable and their seasonal stuff, because those are going to be the ones that they're doing fun and interesting things with instead of the year-round stuff, which is good, but it's year-round. So
Right.
If you don't hit it, you'll miss it.
Exactly. Because they're only going to do one production run of anything that's a seasonal, and when it runs out, it's gone.
I just remembered we're coming into the summer. We got to hit find that Three Houses collab they do every summer.
Yes.
Fort George
three-way IPA.
Yeah.
We've been tasting that on draft. I don't know if it's out on cans yet. It might be.
How's the draft tasting?
It's really interesting. It's more of a San Diego, California style
I'm into it.
IPA. So it has a little bit of pine, but not too much.
I'm excited.
So we'll probably. I thought about that for tonight, but I was like, yeah, no, it's a big beer. The beers we had
quite match.
Wouldn't match with this. The ones we had, rounded mouthfeel, a little pulled back reserve, dry, worked really well. Not over sweet at all in any way, shape, or form. You have a nice hop presence. There's enough bitterness on both of these beers. I think actually the bitter profile was really close to each other, even though one has a lot more hops than the other. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bitter on the tongue. It just means you got the flavors of those hops.
Brian, would you suggest the second beer 2 times for this movie, or something different from the lager we got for the first half? Because I'm leaning towards something light for the first half when you're doing all the setup, and then when the cool stuff starts, something heavier.
Yeah, I mean, I was not disappointed with what we chose.
Okay.
I would not drink 2 of the same beers ever, because
There's too many choices.
Life's too short.
life's too short. There's so much good stuff out there. Why don't you try stuff? Even if you don't like it, try it.
Right on.
I mean, which sort of flies in the face of what I said earlier this evening, where life is like a taco, fill it with things you love. And if you know you like it, you're going to go for it. But you don't know if you don't like it until you try it.
Right.
So, the unexperienced life is not worth living. You must go out and try these things and explore and find things that you may or may not have realized that, hey, the recipe has changed. We were sitting there at John's Marketplace, talking to the server. One of the beers that Brian had ordered had literally changed over that they have on draft, and the bartender didn't realize it had changed over because he ordered he's like, I want a number 13 or whatever, and it's just like, and then
that's really good. And then he said,
and then I said out,
that's not what I recommend.
Yeah, I said the name of the beer out loud, and he's like, oh, what? It's not that anymore? Okay.
He's over here like, Dan's gaslighting me again.
But what they put on there was really good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's what it turned out.
Seek out some good European nitro pours at that location. They do some good stuff.
Ooh, yeah, they do.
Great food cart pod, great beers on draft, and you can pick anything out of the coolers.
And a Chipotle nearby.
Yeah, there's a Chipotle right there, too.
A great selection of
all kinds of fun stuff.
Hey,
they had a pop-up plant sale going on.
Delightful.
Really?
Like a lot of little plants and stuff.
I'm getting into plants now, guys.
Yeah. I was like, I don't need anything else in the house. I have one plant and that's enough.
I got one hanging on my porch now. My spider plant's doing
I've
okay.
got 200.
Yeah, I don't want any of your plants, man. I'm good. I don't have the patience. I forget to water mine and it goes like 2 weeks and I'm like, God damn, it's still alive.
I'm a bad plant dad.
I am. I never put new soil in it either. So I need to do that period like once every 10 years. The poor thing's still alive.
Just sprinkle some unicorn horn in there. It's fine.
I know. I got to do something like that.
Yeah.
Hey,
builds character.
I had put like plant food sticks in there to like, I felt bad because I'm like, this poor soil is so non-nutrient anymore. Yeah. It's just
degraded.
It's so degraded. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I made a mistake because then it exploded and got really big.
It needed more water.
Yeah.
Needed more attention.
Made it go Super Saiyan, you fool.
I know.
And then it ate you.
No.
And then it sang a song about it. And now we're that's why we're podcasting with Audrey too.
All right. Good film. Interesting to watch. I don't know if it's family appropriate. I mean, it has some good father-daughter dynamics and things are
this
forgiven.
is for
in the
adults.
end.
Not every movie has to be for kids. Like, this is for the grown-ups in the room.
I think kids would be bored.
They'd be bored and then grossed out.
Scared and grossed out a little
Scared
bit.
of those unicorns who change colors.
And they'd get the idea to start vaping, which is awful for you.
They don't. It's like he says nothing about your vaping. Oh, you're vaping now? Okay.
And that was a pretty good laugh. I'm like, no. And she does the bat tries to be subtle but can't. And she's just billowing smoke out of her nostrils. And now no.
Vaping bad.
It's not. I mean,
yeah, there was a lot of vaping in this.
Yeah.
Which
and product placement, but we're not going to go there.
I mean, you want to so badly.
Oh,
God forbid a movie gets some money with placement.
Did you recognize any of the stickers on her Apple laptop?
No,
I didn't.
I tried.
I was like, what is that? What is that? Because, it's going to get famous. Anything she touches.
I mean, I don't know that it's going to get famous from this movie. I don't see this one really blowing up.
Well, you can always hope. Or not.
I don't have a funny follow-up. I'm sorry.
All right, it's all good.
I dropped the ball, guys.
It's all good. So check this film out if you can.
Yeah, check it out. I think it's worth a watch.
Good, worth watching. Find some interesting things to drink. Water is always important.
see it with friends.
Have a conversation about it while you're watching it. Look for the changing colors with the unicorns.
Yeah.
They go from white to black, and then silver and brown and all kinds of other colors.
And then one
Colors
goes
of the rainbow.
see-through, which I might just made up. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I can see invisible unicorns. On the water thing, if you don't hydrate, you're going to get skewered by a male unicorn buck, and that's just not good for you.
It's really
it hurts.
It hurts.
You'll what the scientists call it dehydrating.
Yes. So, as always, the opinions expressed during the taping of this recording are those of the hosts, and we want to thank you for hanging out with us. And, check this film out if you have an opportunity. It's a good watch. It's like an hour and 40. So, yeah.
Yeah. Blake says watch it. This is Blake saying bye as well. Blake also says unicorn noise. Shrug.
And Brian says, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.